All right, our pictorial review is going to be a preview of our May 17th trip to Pontiac, Illinois via Route 66. And I believe Ken has a presentation for that. You're a good clicker.
Too much irony there, I cannot handle that. Okay, yeah, instead of looking backwards, this time we're going to kind of look forward to what's coming up in May 17th. These pictures were actually taken from our last trip down to Pontiac. The big difference now is the Pontiac Museum has a Fiero display up for us this time. We're going to meet at the Cheddar's Restaurant in Bolingbrook. From there we're going to start our cruise, pick up Route 66 and cruise down the whole historic Route 66, which will kind of be an informal kind of thing. If you want to drop out of line and take some pictures at any point, you're certainly more than welcome, because there's plenty of things to take pictures of. This guy being one of them, at one of the diners, the Launching Pad Diner, has this, I know nobody's here old enough to remember when they came out with the giant fiberglass muffler men, but they took their muffler man and made him into this retro-looking spaceman, which at the time was a futuristic-looking spaceman, but it's another story. A couple of years ago in a tornado, he lost his head, but they managed to perform surgery and put it back. But there's just all kinds of things. There's a couple of old school antique style gas stations that you can stop and take pictures of. Mark Solner got himself into the Fiero store calendar doing just that. Some of the other diners along the way have statues of Elvis or who knows what. So if at any point you see something you want to stop and take a picture of, great, go ahead, because once we get on Route 66, all you got to do is follow Route 66 right into Pontiac. Once we get to Pontiac, next. All right. Clicker's malfunctioning.
Not the bomb. Computers. Love them.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's over.
Talking about, that was for our last cruise down there. And raced it all.
All right, we'll do it this way.
Yeah, we can go to the third one there. Okay, yeah, that's the Pontiac Oakland Museum. They're going to reserve parking for us right across the street in front of the courthouse. They'll block all that off and we'll get to park there. They've declared it Fiero Day. It's a Midwest Fieros event as well, so we'll probably be seeing some of the Iowa people come out to join us, maybe some Michigan people as well. Tim is stocked up on some Fiero diecast cars and whatnot for his souvenir section, so if anybody's got some money they want to spend, I know he said he's got all the way up to 18 scale Fiero diecast that'll have there for us. And he's also got some tour of a private collection in store for us. He's going to give us the details when we get there. Actually, plus we have lunch. The first thing we'll do when we get there is gather right off this side of this picture. There's a place for lunch, and we'll gather and have lunch there. And then we'll spend some time in the museum and see all the other things that are to see. Next shot. Yeah, there's the courthouse across the street. They'll block all that off for us there. And then lunch. This is the same restaurant we'll be having lunch at. And the museum. Like I said, the big difference from the last time we were there is this time they actually have a Fiero display set up. There are some other Fiero memorabilia things that they've got in the museum as well as with the other Pontiac stuff. Next, a lot of other things to do in town. There's the Route 66 Museum, this one, next. And all these things are free too, so you can cruise down there and you don't have to spend a dime all day long. The Military Museum, the bunch of museums. Next. A lot of places in town where they've got murals painted on the wall where you might want to stop and take pictures. So this particular, that's just a wall painted up to look like an old gas station. A lot of other murals that are just dying to have your car parked in front of them and have a picture taken. Next. And then finally, I don't know if you're going to want to stick around that long. The leaving part is going to be kind of informal. You can just leave at any point you want. Some people might make up groups and go with small convoys on the way home. From 5 to 8, there's going to be a Pontiac cruise night. It's going to be their first Pontiac cruise night of the year. It's normally big. They're talking 400 cars usually. There's probably around 3 or 4 people at this point that want to stay because we're going all the way down there. How many other times are we going to make it there for the cruise night? So maybe you want to stay for the cruise night as well. Maybe not. Whatever you want to do is totally up to you. Okay, that's all I got. Any questions? Yeah.
How many miles down to Pontiac?
I somehow think it's about an hour from the Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Right,
So
from-
it's probably about 60, 65, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. From Cheddar's, it's about an hour.
How many gas stations are there?
No ones?
Yeah,
Get 20
yeah,
miles per
lots of
tank
them.
there, Doug?
Yeah, there's
Painted ones or real ones?
real ones.
Real ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of places. All right, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken. All right, for our N.I.F.E activities, this is our last club meeting indoors until November. Starting with the Pontiac trip, we'll be gathering outdoors at events throughout the summer into early fall. I believe our next indoor club gathering will be in November. Date to be posted. As we just found out, Saturday, May 17th, will be our Pontiac trip. We can give more details at FieroFocus.com. Jeff Jones would like to talk about our Swedish Days parade that we're going to be involved in at the end of June, and also car show circuit.
Yeah, real quick, for those of you that have been N.I.F. members for a while, you know that we used to do Swedish Days about every other year for quite a few years. And then we haven't done it now for 2 years. So June 22nd, Swedish Days Parade. It's a lot of fun. We're going to meet up for breakfast. You don't have to meet for breakfast. If you just want to meet at the staging area, you can meet at the staging area. We go through the parade. The neat thing about this year is the theme of the parade this year is decades. So they wanted each group to represent a decade, and obviously we will naturally represent the 80s proudly in the parade. So I also encourage those of you that want to go to the parade, if you have a nice 80s gear to wear or something, you know, feel free to dress a little 80s. Maybe we'll find out whoever's got the best stereo. Maybe we'll get some 80s music played in their car or something. So kind of nice, do a nice little throwback to the 80s for the parade. So if you're interested in the parade, there's going to be more information coming out in the Fiero Focus magazine and on FieroFocus.com. But you do need to let me know that you're interested in the parade, because we are going to have a limit of 10 cars in the parade. So it's kind of first come, first serve for the first 10 cars that want to attend. So that's it on the Swedish Days Parade. I hope we get a good turnout. Like I said, we haven't done it for a couple of years, so it's good. We got to remind people that Fieros exist. And in reminding people that Fieros exist, if we could also get out to some car shows this summer. I know that a lot of people don't bring their cars out, it seems like, or Fieros, or they're afraid to bring their cars to car shows. They're afraid to bring their Fieros to car shows that they think they'll get made fun of or something. They don't. People actually love seeing Fieros out at car shows. So I would encourage everyone to come out. I've put together, essentially I'm passing out my summer calendar. Because I will probably be attending most of the events that are on this calendar. So if some of you guys want to come and join me, feel free. It is very focused on, the west suburbs. So I mean, if people have other car shows that they want to attend or that they're planning on attending, please post it on our Facebook page. This list is also on our Facebook page in the notes section, so I can add more car shows to it. If you're down south or up north and have another car show that you think is great that other Fiero owners would like, well, definitely let us know about it, and we will add it to the calendar that we have out there. So it's a lot of fun. Hope to see a lot of people out this summer. So
Great, thanks, Jeff. I've attended the Swedish Days Parade, and it's a lot of fun. You get to see what happens in the background at parades. because we're sitting in the staging area for quite a while watching cheerleaders practice. Jesse White Tumblers have been there a number of times. And it's just interesting to see what they do to put together. And there's other cars that are there, and people are really friendly. I'd really suggest that if you have the opportunity to attend, it's a lot of fun. And I'll probably be joining Jeff in a lot of the car shows. We seem to hit the same shows together. Let's see, what do we have next? Oh, the Midwest Fiero Club's 2014 show circuit. We'll begin with the Dells Run from May 29th to June 1st at the Chula Vista Resort. You call that number for reservations. Other stops on the show circuit include Minnesota. I believe the Tyler Shipman show is included in that, correct? Yes. Okay. And Michigan, Iowa, oh, Tyler Shipman right there. Competition this year will be for the best interpretation of the 1986 GT. As always, check FieroFolks.com for further information. That takes care of number one on new business. Reminder, be sure to patronize our 2014 Fiero key sponsors when you need these products or services. The Fiero Store, V8 Archie, I guess he's retiring, so you will
Patronize them quickly.
yeah, quickly. Woody Buick GMC in Naperville and Fox Valley Buick GMC in St. Charles. Fiero this year will be taking place Sunday, September 7th. I'm going to pass around a volunteer sheet for the opportunities of working with Fiero. If you've already signed the sheet, you don't have to sign it again. The more volunteers we have, the better show we can put on, and you get to see what it takes to put a show like this on. So please help us out and volunteer. Thank you. Let's see. See me after the meeting if you know of any ideas you have for discussion topics for future club meetings. We're always looking for new ideas. We're looking to build an inventory of recorded how-to videos that we can watch and discuss during our N.I.F.E club meetings. Again, see me after the meeting. Let me know if you're planning any maintenance or any type of work yourself on the Fiero, so we can get a video crew out there and videotape it and hopefully get it up on our website. We'd also like to do some more live webcast meetings so we can connect with our club members and enthusiasts across the globe via the internet. Again, let me know if you have any ideas. Ray Darrison is looking for ideas to cover his Fiero Focus articles entitled Tech from Ray's Desk. Let me know what ideas you may have. And any questions from the members? Yes?
Well, I don't know if anyone would be interested, but if you're familiar with the Eastwood Company, they make paints and tools for restoring cars. You got powder coating stuff. They make welders and things. Anyways, I've been in the mail order business for some 30 years, and just opened the first retail store in Alsip, Illinois. So I was there today, and they're having a grand opening. I grabbed some flyers I put on the table if anyone's interested. But they got some demos of their products, and they said that later they'll be offering classes in welding, MIG and TIG welding, because they sell welders too. But I don't know, they got plans. So if anyone's interested, there's flyers on the table.
Bill, did you sign here?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, membership update. As of yesterday, we have 331 members, with 71 that had not renewed from last year. We gotta renew. If you haven't renewed, renew. More members, the better. We have club merchandise for sale over on the table. Feel free to take a look, and if you want to purchase anything, see me. And Paul, do you have,
We had something we brought at the last meeting. There were some of you that weren't here, but I wanted to show it one last time before we do something with these. And these are the Fiero Store inner door panels that they produce for us for the Fiero community. And these obviously take a speaker They have to be finished with some sort of material or paint or something like that, but it's a very nice panel, very well done. We passed it around last time. You guys are welcome to take a look at it. The reason I brought it again is because we're going to have to either send these back to the Fiero store, or if somebody's interested in these sell for $199 per pair. But if you ordered them, you'd have to pay shipping out of Connecticut, which it comes in a very large box, probably costs $20, $25 to ship these, if nothing else. So we have a set that they've sent us, and they told us we don't have to charge any shipping of any sort, and plus they would be offering a 5% discount off of which is our normal discount anyhow, off the $199.95. So if somebody's interested in a set of these at $199 less 5% with no shipping, let me know. You're welcome to take them with you today. If you don't have any money, you don't need to. You can send the club a check when you get back home. So if this is something that interests you, before we send them back, might be a good opportunity to pick these up at a good price. It'll probably save you $40, $50 by the time you get fool around with shipping. So if anybody's interested, if anybody wants to take a look at these, after the meeting, come over and take a look at them. They're very nicely done, and all the attachment points are molded in properly in the back, and now it allows you to put an extra set of speakers in the door panels and still allow you to have everything else that you would normally have with your Fiero. So a nice product. We want to support the Fiero store, and if you're interested, let me know afterwards. And again, you're welcome to take them home today and send us a check later on sometime.
How much do you
They're $199
a pair?
per pair, yeah, for two of them. Yeah, and they're both here in the box. Okay, so that'd be another 5% off, or another $10 off, so about $189 without freight is what these would cost somebody. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, today's meeting topics. Gary Watson is going to discuss using sculpted foam and lockable trunk compartments to customize your Fiero. Thank you.
Let me try to get hooked up here for a moment. No, no. So you're waiting.
Takes me a moment to get around, just a moment. I've got a walking problem. 61 years ago, I got my first car. And that was a car I had to put together. And that was okay, because they weren't very expensive then. And in fact, my first car, farmer gave me, if I'd get it out, it was thrown over his pond and down a waterfall, and it was in the bottom of a gully. And he says, if you'll take it out, you can have it. So I thought, well, get a bunch of guys together and we'll just tear that sucker all apart and get it out of there. And we did. That was the beginning, and then I learned shortly after that how to modify cars. And that's kind of, you learn in the alley anyway. There were no special wheels, there were no special tires, you couldn't buy anything for the car, nothing was made for it. It was a 29 Ford, and fortunately I had a friend who had a junkyard, and if you wanted big tires for that car on the back, you went down to the junkyard and you paid him $5 and he'd give you a wheel and a tire off a Cadillac. You'd bolt that on. Of course you had to modify the rear axle and hold that anyway, but everything was modified. I learned to modify it early on. After hot rods, then I went to customs. And of course then you just lower it and put skirts on it and shave the hood and French the headlights. But all that's outside external interior work that you see. External modification work you see. I'm going to sit down for just a moment. I'm shaky here. Okay. The one thing I realized is I never had the ability to finish the car. I learned from some friends how to roll and pleat. That was pretty good. You'd thing this over here and run a stitch and then fold it back and bring it over and run a stitch and fold it over and run it. Then you'd take rolled up cloth and shove it down in there. That was your rolled and pleating. But everything was straight up and down, to the side, or at an angle. Roll and pleating was the hottest thing you could do. Still didn't finish my car. In fact, my 29 never had a floor in it. You just got in it, I Z'd the frame so I could drop the body down. If you want to drop the body down, you got to cut the floor out. If you cut the floor out, then there's nothing to rest your feet on. So you had to driving their feet resting on the pedals. That was car craft back at that time, 1953, let's say. And over time, so I said I always had this desire to finish the car, and trying to find somebody that you could locate that would show you how to do it, well, that was impossible. So anything I ever had to learn, I had to learn on my own and all by myself. So what I'm going to show you now, which is what I was looking forward to do, was showing you how I finish a car now on its interior. And of course, it's all home built. It's all work that I've done and developed up. But when you're done, you can take any pattern, any shape, any concept you want. I've worked it into my console. I've worked it into my engine compartment. I've worked it up into the front boot. I've worked it on the door seat, on the door panels. And the first thought I had to have was a concept of some sort. Fiero, according to Pontiac, is proud, and I started thinking about that. If that's proud, that's Italian. How could I give my car a name? And looking at the Italian dictionary and go page by page by page, which was a long process, I finally came up with Cavallo, the Fiero Cavallo. Cavallo is horse, so it's now my proud horse. And I designed this pattern, and I'll show it to you as we go along through this thing. You can see it down here. And if that was going to be the pattern of the design, this emblem of my car, I wanted it on the outside, which are the side panels right behind the door opening. You'll see that little triangular panel up there. That's on the outside, done in vinyl. I had that all cut up. Then I started making pieces like this, and that's what I'd like to show you, how if you desire, I mean, everybody can change the car by bolting on a panel, and that's readily available now. You can buy panels from anybody. A lot of bolt-on stuff, but there's some things that they just leave off and they're just not available to you. Maybe you can go hire a guy who does upholstery, and he'll tell you, oh yeah, I do couches, and I've done several kitchenettes in leather, but when it comes to cars, you're not going to run into too many people to do that. So the best bet is learn how to do it yourself. And that's what I wanted to do for you today, is to show you how to do it yourself. This is a process that is very easy, very simple. I'll give you a quick concept of some of the things, some of the areas that I've worked with. In this trunk compartment, I didn't do these. I bought these up at a Fiero about, several years ago. And I did build in my shock tower covers. They're all done in plastic, so you don't see anything there. The panels that go around here, first of all, I had to run aluminum angle around this side and take out the spring return system. These panels are all chrome, they're all louvered. I got that from a company called Mid-America. They're Corvette distributors down in Effingham, Illinois. And they were built for Volkswagen dune buggies. And once a year they have their clear out sale. I went down there and bought all the paneling, all the chrome paneling to do the whole damn car. I think I paid about $7 for it. So, I'm not big on budget. Everything's got to be reasonable to me or I don't even want to do it. But by closing this all up, taking the battery, which is now a gel battery, and I can flip it on its side so I can get it out of the way, I could then close that in. You don't see any wires, you don't see any hoses, you don't see anything, just the engine sitting in there. This covers up any body parts, like I say, shock towers. And then I got back here, and one of the problems that's always egged me about the Fiero is there's no place to put anything. I always go to the shows with my camera, and I'm not about to lay the camera just on a seat and walk away from it, so I got to carry that thing all day long, and that's a problem. So I want a place to put my camera. The center console, as you know, is about this thick, just big enough to cover the owner's manual that goes in there. And I had other plans for that, as I'll show you later. Right in here. I did away with that flop down handle, or that box opening, and just completely upholstered that. And then carved my Pegasus in there with the wing tips coming down and going around the GPS sensor there and then back up there. So that did away with that storage. The storage I wanted had to be big enough to be able to put my camera in. So I built in the back of the car these two boxes. We're going to talk about them today and how to create them, how to create the whole back end. I wanted it lockable. So I took the lock off my snap-on toolbox, installed it, but I've got an address where you can get a lock system if you want to get one on the internet. My emblem, which is this piece right here, I took this out of the car and brought it up here so I could show it to you. And you can make that in any form, any shape you want. It's up to you. If you want your name on your car, if you want your initial on your car, if you want a horse on your car, that's up to you. Just be careful whoever you use is giving you permission. Like I understand the Pegasus horse in the magazine, you can negotiate with them people and use that if you'd like. Wouldn't be that difficult to carve it into the car. You can see I've got it here. I've done it on here. I've done it in here. This is what I call a show mat. It's not a floor mat. It's not meant to be a floor mat. You use your floor mats in your car every day. They get dirty, they get ratty. Your heels keep catching on that felt stuff and it looks rough. So when I go to the show, I just whip this out and lay this on top of it, and that's my show mat. And I've got there's the wing pattern. I'm going to show you how to cut that out today and how to make one. And then the letters, the name. You can make all this stuff. You can make it any way you want to. It's not difficult. I've used the same thing up in front of the car because I didn't want to look in there and see that old spare tire laying in there and compressor components and all that stuff coming out of there. So I just cut this panel out of plywood, sculpted the edges, cut the wings in here, multi-leveled it, and then I put any awards that I get as I go to the shows. That's my display area. The very old mat, I just showed it to you. Here is that center console. Now my seats are altered, they're racing seats that I put in there, but there is no longer a door here. Any storage that I want to do is going to be in the back, and then I'll lock it up and I can walk away from the car, and it's safe and easy to work with. This is what the shock towers look like, and they're made out of plastic, and I've used aircraft Zeus fasteners. You push them down, give them a turn, and they're locked in place. So it's easy to take off, easy to put back on. All service on the car is just as it's always been. That's what it looks like when you first start out. It's got this molded fiber coated, I don't know, it must be some sort of plastic, but it's got shape to it. And this is what it can look like. Or modifications of this form. Now I'm not saying you have to do it the way I did it, but you can use what I've used as an example and then make your own. Make it look however you want it to be. You're going to need some pieces. You're going to need some part. Let's talk about cost. I got an 8-foot piece of 1x2s involved in the project. An 8-foot piece of 2x2s. I don't know, what's that, $3, $4 right there so far we've spent. Big budget. Trunk liner, I'm going to give it to you in a little bit. I've got samples to pass around and give everyone of this stuff. Show you where you can get it at what price. It's $5.99 a yard, 60 inches wide, 36 inches long. You can probably do the whole damn job you want to do on your car with a yard of it. Vinyl, there's 3 kinds of vinyl. We'll be discussing that later. And depending on what you want to cover, I want you to maintain using the thinnest vinyl you can, because if you get other 2 types of vinyl are much thicker, difficult to put down in your carvings. This works out pretty good. When it comes to plywood, and you can have any kind of plywood you want. This is not cheap plywood. This plywood is walnut veneered on one side. But if you get Luan plywood, is what they call it. It's the cheapest stuff you can get. I think it's about $9.95 for a 4x8 sheet. So it's not, you're not talking about a lot of money. And then closed cell foam. That's our magic right there. There's all kinds of foams in the world, but closed cell foam is the one that you're interested in. So let's start this project off, and I'm going to try and talk you through it as we go along. Remove the rubber seal around the trunk opening. Mine never was cemented in, so it wasn't any problem. You just pulled it off, and I just slide it back on, don't glue it in then. It just stays in place. And it holds that plastic piece that covers my shock tower in front and covers the edge of this piece that I took out here. This is that molded piece. You can buy it, and I don't know, I think they want probably $150 for it. I replaced it for about $14 probably in custom upholstery. So, you know, to me, it makes more sense, and I'm saving more money if I don't replace the original one and I build my own. There's 2 screws that hold this in. Well, they're actually not screws, they're pop bayonet plastic buttons. You just pull them out, remove that rubber seal at the top, and you can lift that seal, this insert out. Then I want you to build. You're going to come in here and you're going to make a measurement once you've stripped the trunk out. Measure from this square box here and this square box over here, the width across there. You're going to find out it's about 31 inches. And from the floor down now up to the back is, what have I got on there? 23 and a half, okay. You're going to need to cut a piece of plywood that size. That's that size. 31 inches wide, 23 and a half inches wide. Now, no matter what kind of plywood you get, your major problem is going to be humidity in the air. And heat comes back from the engine. The next thing you know, your plywood is going to look like this. See, it's not flat anymore. So now here's where that 1x2 comes in. If you'll cut a 1x2 and put it around the back here, you'll keep this thing nice and flat. You'll have to taper it a little bit because this thing's going to be laying in your car at an angle, sort of like this on the back. So you take a piece of plywood, you mount it around with 1x2s, and give it a little bit of taper up at one corner. Now with that laying down in the hole, I'm going to take my 2x2s and measure it from this back wall to this wall. Just cut it off, take some construction glue, get that at the hardware store. I think that costs $3.99 a tube, so you're getting bigger money now. And you squirt a little on the front, squirt a little on the back, and then I used masking tape to hold it in place. And went inside for the night and come back and look at it the next day. So that's solid. That's where it ought to be. Wood to metal is no problem at all for construction glue. Now that I've got this piece here, these are permanent. I cut this. Always take a great big piece of cardboard. You can get them from refrigerator boxes, cabinet boxes, anywhere. You just get some cardboard. Do a little cutting and trimming to make sure it's going to fit your panel back there. Once I've got that panel there, I took it, not yet, but I will take it and glue it in place here on the sides. So it looks like this. I've got this little section right in here. That again is a piece of plywood. And I'm doing you could cover it with this if you wanted to. You wouldn't have to make the change. I just have a, it just tickles me to see this French finish here, this double stitch here, and I just love that. So that's what I wanted on mine. Real simple to do. But anyway, you need one of them for each side, one here and one over here. This is available on the internet. So right now, what I've created for you is a panel back here that we wound or edged all with 1x2s, a 2x2 across here, and a panel that fits in there, and the same thing over here with that 2x2. And then these 2 little guys that slide in place, all in wood. So it looks just like that. So far, I'm not the fastest worker. In fact, I do things rather slow, but real deliberate. This will take you from 8 o'clock Saturday morning till about 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. to make this. We're not talking about a really long project here, we're just talking about detailing. How much time you spend is what you're going to spend. From here, now we're ready to finish it up. And so I'm going to take you into finishing. The first thing we are going to look at, well, let me get my leather pieces. Yes. I'll pass these around for you. I don't have samples of this to give you, but I do all the foam pieces and stuff. There are three kinds of vinyl when you go to the store that your wife goes to. I like to hang around that place because I'm always looking for something for the car. I never go anywhere. When we go on vacation, I'm always hunting up and down the shelves and I keep thinking, how can I use that on the car? How can I use that on the car? How can I use that on the car? And I come up with an idea somewhere along the way, or I just walk away and leave it. And I don't buy nothing. But anyway, what we call service weight is this piece right here. Just pass that on. It's real flexible, real easy to work with. The next weight up, I don't suggest you get into these heavier pieces. Is standard weight, which is the same vinyl. It puts a thin piece of foam in there and then puts fabric on the bottom. A little more difficult to work with because it's thicker. And this is a no-no completely. That thing's got a great big thick panel. It's like for padded furniture where you don't want to put any foam underneath it. It's all built in the vinyl. So you want the cheapest piece of vinyl that you can get. You get any color you want. Wherever I've got mine, I always walk in and I say, where's the vinyl samples at? Or all your end runs? Oh, they're over in the side room. They're on a big table over there. And they just got wads and wads of them. And then I just go find a piece big enough for what I want. Buy it $4 or $5. That'll do the whole car. See, I'm talking about $3, $5. I'm not getting any big money. We're not saying that, oh, you're going to spend hundreds of dollars to be able to do this. This is something you'll do on a budget. These are the different colors that you can get, and many more. I use a heavy thread. You can't use a regular thread. You don't want this thing ripping open and going bad on you later on, because you want this thing to last for years for you. So they have a dual duty, they call it. Originally, I started using nylon fiber. That's what they use at commercial shops. That way the color matches anything you want to work with. But I find that's not necessary. If you just go in, if you went in Walmart and asked the guy, you got some dual duty thread? He'll say, sure, come on back, I'll show you what color you want. Well, I suggest you may need some color somewhere, but try to choose it to match your vinyl. I've got a gray in here. And now that we're ready to, that's okay. Start pressing some of these guys out. Let's just go with this one first. Yeah. Foam. All kinds of foam. This one's called an open foam. It's real good if you're looking for sound deadening, vibration deadening. It's real good to pick up water. If you squeeze it, each cell is kind of compressed. You stick it down in water, as it expands back to its natural height, it'll pick up water. That's just a plain old sponge, but what good would that be other than washing the floor with it? Now the piece that I've given you is what we call closed foam. If you'll feel it, and the way you really know that it's closed foam is yeah, we want to pass some of this out. You squeeze it, it comes right back to shape. It won't absorb water. Keep that. Knee mats. You ever see, you go to the garden department in the Walmart, you'll see knee mats you kneel on. They're made out of this stuff. A yoga mat. If you do yoga, that's made out of this stuff. Seats that go in your boat when you go out fishing. They're made out of this thing. It serves as a life preserver because it won't absorb water, it just floats. This comes in various different densities. The first one I gave you, if you look at that one, you'll notice that's probably the most coarse. The holes are bigger. This one's a medium size. This stuff runs about $9.95 a yard, 60 inches wide, 36 inches long. So I guess that's a pretty good investment right there, $10 for your phone. Yeah. This one I happened to run across one day, and I really do like it because it's very dense. This is the densest of all. I was rummaging around out at the American Scientific Store. You guys know that? Because you're all from Chicago. You should know that. And I bought a big sheet of this for $1.50. So, you know, maybe you could do most of your car with this $1.50 kind of stuff. But any one of them are all the closed cell phone, and that's what you're going to do. It's going to be glued in place, and then we're going to cut it and shape it. I'm going to show you that. My suggestion to you is the very first one I gave you, which is called Velara. It's used by car manufacturers when they put a Landau top on a car. Now, they don't do much of that anymore, but if you remember back in the 80s, we had a lot of padded tops on them. And they would put that on, glue it in place, run some rough sandpaper over the edges to give it a rounded sort of an edge, and then glue the top on top of that. But these people here, and you can see them on your computer very easily, AutoTrim, yourautotrim.com. They'll have everything I'm talking about here. They'll have different kinds of foam. They'll have different kinds of materials I'm going to be passing out. They have vinyl if you want to get there. I suggest you go up to Walmart and get your vinyl. Or some of those home stores where they sell all the sewing materials. They've got a lot of discounted stuff that you can buy there. And then the final part you're going to need here, yeah, I don't care what colors they get, they can have dark or light. It comes in dark, medium, and charcoal. It is referred to as speaker box cloth. It also can be used in some cars in the trunk. I have a Jaguar I drive every day. And I don't care how much you pay for the car. If they put the damn interior in it cheap, you're going to have problems. Originally, all upholstery, like in the trunk area, was done with a sort of a fiberboard. They would dampen it, shape it, it fits around the trunk and comes up to the seal. 6 months later, it's hanging out, you know, and you can look down behind there and see the wheel well and all that kind of stuff. So this would be useful. I'm suggesting plywood. I'm suggesting the cheapest plywood you can get, which is Luan plywood. Then be sure and reinforce it so that it doesn't warp and buckle on you. Then when it comes to this, I do think you probably ought to buy this from your AutoTrim store. Look at the color you want. Dark, medium, light. Pick one that you like. The reason I like this is very flexible. There's nothing on the back side, looks just like the front side. You don't want to confuse this if you go to the material store and they've got something that looks like this. This works fine for your floor mat, for your trunk, but there's a sort of a rubberized material on the back. That's not what you want. We want this to follow the curves and the shapes that you're going to cut into the foam. So it's got to be very flexible. See how much denser that is? Hard to work with that. And then again, spray. 3M makes a spray that they use to work on the headliner. Most headliners nowadays are sprayed in rather than running metal bows and you put them up across the cross ribs. My suggestion is you go to AutoTrim and get some of this stuff. The reason for that is this takes 4 minutes to set up. It's a contact cement. It takes 25 minutes for 3M. I don't like to stand there for 25 minutes holding something in place. It bothers me.
That's a lot cheaper, you said.
You know, this is cheaper. Yeah, 3M's about, I think about cheapest I've ever bought it for is about $13, and this is $9. So you see, it's not just cost. There's other reasons that I pick certain products. $10.95, I'm sorry, that's the current price on it. So we're going to go back to this guy and we're going to sort of finish this up now. If you're going to do the stitching like I did here, you're going to need a sewing machine. No special kind of sewing machine. Just a plain old sewing machine your wife uses. Patch up the kids' clothes, that sort of stuff. Or if you're like me, I have one anyway. I also have a commercial machine, dual points, dual feed, grabs the bottom and the top, only for commercial use. Got a motor on it that's this long and this big around. And it's got a clutch in it. So the motor runs the same speed no matter how fast you're sewing. And you step on the clutch and it runs faster or slower. But you don't need that. You're not sewing leather, big heavy leather belts and pieces like that. The only reason I got mine is a guy across the street died and his wife sold it to me. See, that was a bargain. I went over and asked her, she says, I don't know what it's worth. I said, $100. That's a good deal. Good deal for her. She got $100 and I got a sewing machine that I use once in a while. If you're not familiar with your sewing machine, let your wife help you a little bit. You got to learn how to load the bobbin, how to feed the thread through it and put tension on it, bottom to top. And you got to know how to lengthen the stitch so it's not real small little things. You want it to look like a nice stitch on it. This is an everyday old commercial machine. Not a professional machine, just a commercial machine. Same one you'd buy out if you went over to Walmart's or something and bought a machine that would be like this. The only thing I've ever done to help me, because I'm not a real seamstress, I'm not a great sewer, is I put a piece of masking tape on here that could kind of make sure I got a straight line. I'm not too sure about myself sewing a straight line, and I don't want it to look like this when I get to the end. So to make a stitch like this is really simple. Let me find some material here. Okay, I need a 2-inch wide piece. And then these two panels are going to have to be big enough to do those side where I have the pockets in the back. If I want to sew to this, I would mark a mark on here 2 inches over. Then I'd fold this over to it. If you're concerned you can't hold it there, you can put some of that contact cement on the back here. Lay it on here, and then you take your foot of your sewing machine, lay it right on this edge. That'll give you something straight to work with. Stitch that up. Now you got half of it done. I can find the other half. Well, whatever. You take this other one and do the same thing and fold it over and lay it against that. Again, put the foot here and sew down that. You got 2 straight lines. You got this all finished off and it looks just like that. Well, that doesn't take any skill. That just takes a little time, that's all. Draw a line that's parallel to this angle here. A little mark at the top and a little mark at the bottom with your pencil, so you can get ready to lay this guy on here. Spray some glue on this panel and set it on the leather that you've sewn up. Once you've sewn it up, fold this over. I've never been patient enough to wait for this cement to hold that stuff on there. I fold it over and I use a 1/4-inch staple and go boom, 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 and just staple it right there. Then I'm ready to put it right in there. See, that saved me all that hour waiting around. It ultimately looks like this. Now, you take some construction cement there and some on this square box that comes out. You see the line right here. Down here, push it in place, and it's permanent. It's never going to go anywhere, ever again. So this one's done, this one's done. Now remember the top piece that you made? Slide it in there later and put a pencil mark here. Measure back there and go up here and put a pencil mark there. Now you can lay another piece of panel that you've sewn up like this right across those marks. All of your seams line up. Glue it, fold it over, and staple it back in place. Both boxes are done. I've got this piece here, and the floor is exposed metal. So I take my, well, I didn't actually use carpet material. I used the same thing I passed out to you, that upholstery piece. Sprayed contact cement here, put it in there. And this piece here, laying at this angle, is this piece right here that I've made. It's my Pegasus horse, the wings I made, and I just wanted to make it look a little fancy, so I put some sculptured curves into it. Give it a little style, you know. Otherwise, you can make it flat if you want it. I'm just trying to show you all the things that's possible to be done. So there we are. Now this piece up here is nothing special. I went out to the body shop. I have a friend out there, and I said, I'm looking for some sort of molding that fits over this top edge that'll kind of give it a seal. And he said, I don't think I have anything. You can go look in the back. And I went around through all the garbage back there. And I said, I'd like this. What's this off of? He says, well, we took it off of a pickup truck. It's the window molding. It goes on the inside of the door and rubs on the glass. I said, boy, that's perfect. I'll take that. So I brought that home and cut it off for length. And when I put it in there, it gives me a nice finish. Drops down under here. And then I just push that ring back in place. And it's done. I did glue on this back side here also, which is the back of your box coming up. I glued some more of this just flat on this side. So the whole inside is done. Front, back, bottom, locking things on the side. And it does what I want. I think you could find something like that that would please you. And you could put anything in there that you want to put in there in a way of a symbol. To put the symbol in there, these are just some suggestions. Fiero name. This is your horse. This is my horse. And you can see that this basically is this minus the letters. The letters were used when I made the cavallo in this one wing. The design is up to you. You put in there whatever you want. If you want your name in there, you want your initials in there, whatever it is that you like. So let's actually make one of these guys. Or here's the thing, I realized time was a problem. And I told them I had other things to talk about if you wanted to talk about them. If you'd like and stay up to class, we'll just do some of this stuff and actually make it. But not everybody's going to want to see this or going to plan on doing it. If you'll take your wood panel, and I'm not going to spray this in here, but just spray some contact cement on there, let that sit for 4 minutes. Spray some contact cement on here, let that sit for 4 minutes. When you're ready, put the two together. Make sure I got a good adhesion. I always turn it upside down and lay something on top of it. Then I go prepare my other areas. By the time I'm ready to come back in 15 minutes or so, this is on here already. And this ain't gonna come loose. You need to design yourself a pattern of some sort. This is just one that I designed for myself, which would be the wing. I'm shaky, I'm sorry.
No problem.
I've had a stroke. 6 of them. So it affects me. Affects my speaking sometimes. Now, make up your template. I cut out what I want to keep. Put it on here like this. And outline it. Now it looks like this. Foam glued on the board and the pattern cut in there. I don't care what knife you use. I brought several. I brought a sliding knife like that, a knife like this, an X-Acto knife like this. And all I do is I'm going to cut that pattern out. Not straight. You want about a 30-degree angle. Am I still there?
I think you stepped on.
No.
Pull it out.
Okay.
Okay, we can put that back on there, yeah. There we go. Okay, so if you follow this pattern, you just take your knife, that piece out of there, that's my first piece. And you just continue on down, you jump up to here, go down there, over in here. Don't quite have it all the way through there yet.
How's that going to be when it's glued?
There's my next
When
one.
it's glued, it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold it on with one finger and cut it. But you can see how you cut it. And all the foam, no matter how big or how small, you cut it on that angle. Pass that around, somebody look at that, and I guess let's send that around too. Oh, I need that, yeah, for one more moment. You don't get it yet. Once you've got this all cut and shaped, you come back over with your glue, spray that with contact cement. Got to wait 4 minutes. You take your matting, spray that, wait 4 minutes. Then you lay that on there, just like that. Just lay it over the top of that. I don't care what you use. I think this was to put windshields in cars. I think that's what that was for. This is for working on clay. I got that at an art department store. I've used the back end of a spoon or a knife. Just don't want to cut. You want a butter knife. And you take this wherever that low spot is, and you just start pushing it down. Just like that. When it goes down in there, it's going to stick to the contact cement. It's stuck in place, and when you're all done and you look at it, what you've got as you're looking at it is, well, this pattern. You know, it's not difficult, right? If I can tell you in an hour how to do the whole damn job, surely you could do it in a weekend, Saturday and Sunday. This wouldn't be a big deal. And it could be finished in a way that no other Fiero around you is going to be. I've never seen I never pulled up at a show and have another car sitting next to me that had all of this work on it. Maybe next show, I will. That'll be up to you guys. But you can see, I'm going to pass this around now and let you look at that. If you do a real intricate pattern, now one thing I want to warn you about, how intricate you want to get. You notice I didn't detail the legs coming down and little things. If it gets too detailed, how are you going to get that carpet to bolt in and out of there? So you want to make it more of a general shape. If you get too detailed, there is one answer you can do. You may or may not have one of these guys. It's a steamer. And with a steamer, you can release this material a little bit, the fiber of the material, and work it down into more intricate little cuts and patterns. So by the time we're done, like I said, take the board, glue the foam on it, cut your pattern, now lay the material over the top of it. Fold it down into those little grooves. Using a spatula or a knife or a spoon handle or something to get it down into that groove. We're done. We've created.
Very well done.
Now, he told me
Go ahead, go ahead.
if you're still agreeable to it.
You got time?
Okay.
Go ahead.
And he said, oh, for 39 years I taught for Joe Morris. I was the original, Fiero instructor. That's why I got my Fiero back in '82 to bring down from the Pontiac plant. Decided I needed to have one, talked my wife into it, ordered mine and got mine inserted before the dealerships got theirs. I got a low PIN number. But I've always known one thing about the Fiero. The biggest problem with the Fiero is the damn computer on it. I don't care what year you're talking about. I don't care if you're talking about a 85 and 86 and 84 and 87. I don't care. They're all got the same problem. The computer sometimes will not tell you when you have a problem. They just lie to you. You'll drive along down the road running like crap. No light will come on. Nothing like, you'll hesitate, you'll stumble, you'll do all kinds of things. And I'll bet you thought that the computer's supposed to help find that problem. It won't. Never was intended to find that problem. So I'd like to show you, I don't have 40 hours, that's what this course takes. 40 hours, SET, Simplified Electronics Training, and I've taught it all over the world. But we've got maybe an hour and I can show you, I know in that length of time, how to find this problem and how to solve this problem. For 3 years, let me get my breath.
Take it easy, don't push yourself.
Okay, for 3 years I traveled with a special group, and what we were assigned to do, thank you, was go find cars the dealers could not fix. You buy one of these things, you take it home and don't run right, you bring it back, and the dealer says, oh, we'll fix it. Then he puts this on, puts this on, puts this on, puts this on it, take it out, and it still runs crappy. You bring it back, and I don't know, we'll make some phone calls. They call somebody, and nobody can help. You get tired of that, you take it to a different dealership. It's a company guarantee, isn't it? So you take it to some other dealership. He says, oh, we got the best guys there are in the neighborhood. We'll take care of that for you. They work on it, and guess what? It runs as bad as it did before. So now we've had multiple dealers, multiple pieces put on the car, sensors, even a new computer. All that's, and nothing makes it run any better. Finally, you're getting down to the bottom line and say, look, I'm ready to sue somebody on this thing. Then the company says, well, we'll send a specialist out there and he'll fix it for you. Well, that was me and 3 other guys. What we did is when we come in, there's always a mechanic's been working on the car. He wants to see what's going on. Well, what are you going to do that he didn't know how to do? You know, what's the deal here? I'm going to learn something, boy, today. And owner's there, he wants to lean over. By the time you're done, you got a crowd trying to get in there, and you can't see around anything and get to it. So the first thing you do is when you go in, you say, I don't want anybody in here with me. I want everybody to go up to the showroom. You come back in a half an hour from now, and I'll tell you what I did to fix it. Notice I give a time limit, didn't I? In half an hour, I'll fix it for you. After all, they've spent 2 dealerships and days and parts and all kinds of stuff on it. So they go up to the showroom, half an hour they come back, he's fixed it. He thinks he fixed it. I spent 3 hours on it. Another guy says, I spent 2 hours on it. He ain't gonna fix it in half an hour. And just hand the keys to him and say, go for a drive and see what you think. They go out and drive and come back and say, wow, I'd never run like that before. That's amazing. What'd you do to it? I said, well, there's no sense in trying to explain it to you. I don't know if I could explain it to you. It takes a lot of thinking to go through this. Did we get any paper? Did we get a charter in?
No, we did not. No, they didn't have.
Well, okay, no, it's all right. I'm going to use some of this stuff. Now, I hope you'll follow me. I don't, like I said, I don't have 40 hours to do this.
You want me to hold your paper?
No, I've got it. That's a circle.
I'm with you.
It's a circle. The starting point, yeah, you've all followed me there. The starting point is the ending point. That's important. Keep that in mind. The starting point is the ending point. If I do this to it, that's not a circle anymore. That's a circuit. A circuit is taken from the word circle, meaning to start and stop at the same place. Indianapolis is a circuit, right? And you start at the one spot, and you run around and come back there, and hey, I got here first, I'm the winner. It's a circuit. A circuit in electronics is our beginning point. We need some components. We need a power supply. In this case, I'm going to make it a battery. Now that battery is a 2.13 volts per cell. 6 cells, that's 12.78 volts. That's at rest. If you crank it over, it'll drop down to about 10.2. If you have the alternator running, it'll go up to about 13.8 to 14.8. It's got to go higher than the original source so it can push power in there. So who knows what that number really is? Maybe it's 14.7, maybe it's 11.3, maybe it's 12, I don't know what it is. You're certainly not going to ask a computer to work with a varying voltage. So inside of every computer, a little device that looks like that, called a voltage regulator. No matter what you put in, I'll guarantee you 5, 7, or 9 will come out. If you put in 13 volts, 5 will come out. If you put in 10 volts, 5 will come out. If you put in 7 volts, 5 will come out. They'll all come out until you get below 5. Then there's a backup system on the car anyway. And believe me, I know about the backup system. In 1982, the first fuel-injected car we ever got, which was a 2.5 liter, they flew me down to Oklahoma City and I picked one up at the plant. And they wanted to show me the plant, so I went for a tour and walked around and golfed for a while. And not like I'd never seen a car before, but I impressed them. I was impressed. And then it was 4:30, time to close the place up. They were doing pilot model for next year, see, so no, it wasn't a running line. And they said, see ya, and then they locked the door. I took off to go to Holiday Inn because I was going home the next day in the car. Made it about 2 blocks, got in really not nice neighborhood. And the crankshaft pulley fell off the front of the car. Hand built, you know, what do you expect? Probably a $70,000 custom built car, but the part fell off. So all the way from the plant, all the way across Oklahoma City and getting to the Holiday Inn, I had to drive with no charging. I eventually turned the lights off. The radio quit playing, that's how low the voltage went. I got there anyway, because there's a backup system called limp home mode in the computer. And it would keep triggering the injectors until it'd finally get down to about 2 volts, and then it'd just say, oh, I can't work anymore. And then I would have been stranded. Anyway, they got me a pulley the next day, and I had to put it on in the parking lot there so I could go home, and that's all. Good product. Anyway, power supply. You get out of that voltage. Voltage is referred to as electrical push or pressure, named after a guy by the name of Volta, an Italian. Somewhere out here there's a load. A load is a device that converts electrical flow into another product. If it's a resistor, it converts it into heat. If it's a filament, it converts it into light, like a headlight. If it's a coil, it converts it into magnetism. See, but whatever, you get something out of that electricity. And that electricity that's flowing around here, oh, incidentally, they refer to that in ohms. George Ohms is a guy that did some work with that. This electricity that flows in this circle is called amps. Modern term, current, electrical current. Frenchman, ampere. So we got these 3 guys, Volta, ampere, and ohms working on this circuit for us. There's a couple more devices that go into a circuit. There's a control device, a switch, so you can just stop the circuit and not let it work anymore. And a protection, a fuse. If the current got so great, it might melt the wire. Certainly would damage the load. So the fuse just melts, protects the circuit. So I want you to keep this in mind. We're going to work with this circuit, and I'm going to give you some numbers. This is not a math course. I'll make it simple. Start with voltage. go through the fuse, through a closed switch, down through the load. I'll draw it as a resistor. A resistor looks like this, sort of a sawtooth looking thing. And then come back to the battery. Now it's important you have all these parts. If you ever tried to run a wire from this post on your battery, that's the positive post, to this post, which is the negative post, just run a wire from there to there. Has anybody ever done that? Almost everybody. You know what happens to your wire? God, there's an arc and a pop, and get your hands out of the way because you're going to get hurt. That's why you need the load. The whole function of the load is to control, limit the amount of current that's going to flow from this end to this end. You got to come back, otherwise it's not a circuit. And if it's not a circuit, you can't have flow. So it's got to come back. It just can't come back on a wire alone. Okay, everybody follow me so far? Let's put some numbers down now. Coming out of the battery over here at plus is 12 of them guys, 12 of them volts. It cannot come back as 12 volts. Comes back at 12 volts, there's going to be a pop, there's going to be a burn, there's going to be a melt, there's going to be some real serious problems. So we have to have a load in here. That could be a MAP sensor, an oxygen sensor, it could be a coolant temperature sensor, it could be lots of sensors, throttle position sensor. A lot of those are variable. The one I'm going to pick is going to be the coolant temperature sensor. It's what they call a thermistor. It changes its resistance based on the temperature that it is exposed to. So it's screwed down in the water jacket, but not direct to the water. There's like a little cup that goes around the outside of it, a little copper cup. And the heat radiates through the copper cup to this little resistor. Basically what happens, this is the simplest circuit I can make for you. 12 volts goes out here, 12 volts goes to here. There's a drop here. And if I'm going to go back over to here where there's 0, then I got to have 0 here. If I got 0 here and 12 volts here, the drop across the one and only load is equal to the power supply. It'll be 12 volts. 12, 12, 12, 12, 0, 0, 0, 0. Good working circuit, no problem. Everybody following me? Okay, but we don't actually have 12 here. What we have is 5 volts. I'm going to change this now to look like this. Okay, so you send 5 volts out down to the coolant temperature sensor. There's a voltage drop that occurs across this sensor before it can go back to this terminal of this 5 volt power supply. How much drop is there across here?
5.
Yeah, sure, there's no question about it. 5. Man, let's don't play games. 5 is all it is. Couldn't be anything else. From that reading, incidentally, that's the only sensor the computer ever sees all the time, 100% of the time. You turn the key on, you haven't even cranked the engine over, you haven't started it, it's looking at the coolant temperature reading out there, trying to decide what program should I load in here to start this car. Is it a cold morning? Is it a moderate morning? Is this a hot evening? Has this car been running for the last 2 hours? This is the sensor it looks at. From this sensor, now, it decides what program to load in the computer. If it makes a mistake here, it'll load the wrong program. The wrong program controls things like duration of the flame front and the cylinder. How long does it take to run over across the cylinder of the wall before you start to get a rebounded cycle back and create a knock? In other words, if your timing's wrong, don't you get a knock in the engine? Okay, this guy's going to control that. He's going to set the timing. He's going to set the air-fuel ratio mixture. 4.5 to 1 is probably normal for start. Oh, it's 14.7 once you're running, but it's really rich to get you started because liquid weighs more than air does, and it's going to settle in the legs going out to the cylinder. So we got to throw enough in there that it'll get out to the cylinder. All of that is based here. When we talk about starting it up, and it's got a load on it. Does it have an air conditioner running when it starts? Does it have a clutch from the computer, you know, a Tarkenberg clutch? All these are loads on it, and it's all compensated that. Everybody following me so far? One last picture then. Coolant temperature sensor, 5-volt regulator inside the computer. Line coming out and going back. That line, incidentally, is a common ground connection. Okay, I reach over here and I turn the key on. It sends a signal out here, goes down here, goes through here, drops across this device here, and comes back. How much does it drop across here? 5 volts. Exactly, 5 volts. Now, this is not a very self-analyzing program for the computer, because I want this program to know when something's wrong out there. So here's what the designer computer does, the designer of the computer does. He places a resistor right here. And then he puts an eyeball in the computer watching this spot right there. Now, I want to make sure that you remember the rules. Whatever you send out, when it comes back, it's got to be 0. You do remember that. And the drops must equal the power supply. But there's 2 drops now.
Yeah.
Let's just put an artificial number on it, just for the sake of keeping this simple. Let's say that this resistance here is equal to this resistance. They're both exactly the same. I only got 5 volts to work with. And I'm going to have a drop across here, and I'm going to have a drop across here. And they're both the same.
2.5
And the total's 5 volts. So how much is going to drop across this resistor here?
2.5.
2.5. But hey, you guys are doing well.
We've had a lot of problems.
It goes 5 here, 5 here, 2.5 here. 2.5, 2.5, 2.5 down here, 2.5. And then back to here is 0. Got it? Everybody's got it.
Yep.
Well, you're doing pretty good so far. Now we start making a little bit of a variation in this thing. I know you hadn't planned on this, but sometimes it happens. If you'll look at the computer in your car, you'll see what they call an edge board. It's a printed circuit board, and all of the printed circuit lines lead out to the edge of the computer, and on there's like a thin lead contact area, and they're individuals. That's your connection. You know, every metal in the world except gold will mix with oxygen and form an oxide. Iron mixes with oxygen, they call it rust. Ugly looking stuff. It's not nice at all. Copper mixes with oxygen, turns a sort of a green. I think they call it Veragus or something like that. Silver mixes with oxygen and gets a black, ugly stuff. Everything mixes with oxygen. Gold don't. If you've ever wondered about our late model cars, now we're talking about later models now. There are gold terminals on the computer and gold edge board connectors on the steering wheel circuit. We sure as hell can't afford to have those terminals oxidize. If they oxidize, let me show you what happens. Right in here, you'd have an additional resistance in your circuit. Now, since we all know that the voltage drops must equal the power supply, you would have different things happening. For example, and now I guess I got to tell you the secret way. 3 of us guys were always able to fix all the cars that nobody else in the United States could fix, just us 3. We run you out of the room. When you're all going out of the room, we disconnect all the terminals. And unfortunately, we got in our pocket a pencil. A pencil with an eraser. And we turn that computer on the side and we clean off all that oxidation on all those terminals. We clean off all that oxidation, put back, and you gotta do it on both pieces. You don't wanna touch the terminals. Sometimes your body creates an electrical charge moving inside of your shirt, moving inside of your pants leg. Similar but dissimilar products moving into close proximity will create this electrostatic discharge. So you have to be careful. But you clean all that oxidation off, put it all back together and say, go drive it. Guess what? Hey, it's working. So now you're going to have a hard time convincing me that any car you've got right now, you've been driving it for 4 or 5 years, it doesn't have oxygen on those contacts. I'll bet you it does. Now how bad it works and how bad it makes your car work, I'm not sure. But here's a question to you. If it is oxidized, there's a drop here and a drop here and a drop here and it comes back to zero here. And where these things are what? Sometimes I drew a picture here and you're going to question that. Sometimes that thing comes over and has the resistor over here and not on this side. The eye can be there still. Sometimes on some computers, there's a third wire, that's the input wire right here, come down to here like that, and you can see R over to here. All the circuits are different, but it watches what it sees in voltage drops going through the circuit. If you have an oxidized terminal, if you have a bad ground terminal, you ground this at the frame, you ground this at the frame, this piece doesn't exist anymore. Now it's using the frame to come back and going through rust, oxidation on iron, right? If it drops there, it's going to see a different voltage drop halfway through the circuit. When it sees the different voltage, it doesn't question it. How the hell would you know what the temperature is going to be on August 14th coming this fall at 8 o'clock in the morning? You don't think the computer knows, do you? All it does is ever look at, sees whatever it sees and says, I'll accept that. I'll accept that bad ground, I'll accept that oxidation, I'll accept all, and then I'll load a program that's proportionate to that. Now your car runs bad. And I don't care if you replace the computer, and if you replace this, you can replace the sensor, but if you've got a oxidation on the ground or a connection there, you may not be solving that problem. And it just goes on and on and on and on. That makes sense to everybody? Hell, you all graduated from a 40-hour electronics program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done.
You guys want to know?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I imagine we will see a lot of customization done. All right, door prize time.
Would you like to have Ken maybe talk about the one he left here?
If you'd like to.
Okay. Ken has done these before, and are you sure this is a door prize?
This is a door prize.
Wow. Look him up and show everybody what you do and tell them what you do.
Yeah.
I thought the tool set was going to be our best prize.
Don't you get one?
I'm a board member. We're excluded. Yeah. Jeff is recording it and be posting the video. We're going to post the video on Fair Focus. How long did it take last time?
It took longer because Mike.
A couple weeks.
In the
Check
pace
back
car.
in a week or two.
On the speedway. And GM is going to kill me for that, but what the heck. I've lived. So this is available on Etsy, etsy.com. And it's $90 for an 18 by 24 like this. It'll be laminated. You can either have gloss or matte, and it's on foam core. The framing and matting you can do yourself because you might want a different frame, different mat. So this is going to be a door prize. Hopefully I can do another one for Fiero Rama as a door prize. So, one of you is lucky.
Very lucky.
How do you spell 19?
How do you spell SE?
Is it closed cell phone or open cell phone?
That's a good question. Just hang on, take it apart. Hang on to it, Ken, you can make a personal presentation of yourself. So we have a ticket to pull. Keep in mind, N.I.F.E board members are not eligible, so we don't have tickets. That's right. We'll just pull one.
Use your cap.
Okay. Okay, the winner of the socket set.
Oh, we forgot to wax samples.
Is 113751.
You gotta be kidding. That's you.
There we go, Terry, is that you?
Yeah, 751.
Nice.
Yay!
Really? Up to you. Ken's got it for you. Ken, you want to do the presentation? Beautiful. There we go. 1, 2, 3.5. All right.
Very generous.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have just at the end of the table there, toolkit, we have about 6 other items to choose from. So first come, first served on the 113749 ticket.
That is so well done.
749, it's you.
There you go. So well done.
Okay, I have 113718.
You don't find craftsmanship in artists.
718.
If you have a box in the back of your field, you can walk the camera.
756. Chuck? And then 748.
That's what I used to teach.
I don't need the ticket. I believe you.
Nice.
720.
720.
I wasn't kidding when I said that.
You need to have some screwdrivers.
You are today. That's gorgeous.
And 721.
There you go.
We come to this meeting for summer.
Do you want sockets or screwdrivers?
750. And we have, I think, only one item left after Herb gets his out. 719 for some, looks like some polishing cloths. 719. I'll take it. Okay, there you go.
Final questions for Gary?
Well, anyone wants to stay afterwards, like I said.
Yeah, anyone wants to stay afterwards? Gary, you stayed, grown up, you stayed overnight. How long did you travel to get up here? 4 hours. 4 hours just to do a meeting for you guys. Thank you very much.
Very good. That's the end of the meeting. We'll see you at the summer events. Check the Fiero Focus webpage. See you out there.
Looks like we're taking some good notes. You must have a project coming up, huh?
I'm composer.